Hello, St. Matthew's Church. Pastor Gordon coming to you today. On Sunday, as part of the service, I gave a financial update that was prepared by John Alexander to let you guys know how our finances have been going on in the church. And so what I want to do is just create a little video where I pretty much recap what I said on Sunday in case you weren't able to make it. And so I'm going to do that at this time. A few things you want to know is that we have two primary things I want to talk about. First is our general fund. The general fund is the operating account for the church. It used to pay all our normal expenses such as programs, staff salaries, building maintenance, and I got a bar chart that John created for you to look at here. And you can see 32% goes to our buildings and grounds. We have a pretty big facility here, and so a lot of our general fund money goes to that. Staff salaries and pastor salaries, that's right about 50%. And so half of our income goes to support our staff. Apportionments, that's what I like to call it, maybe our tithe back to the greater denomination, the Methodist Church, that goes to support ministries and health insurance for pastors and for ministries all throughout the conference, and not just our conference, throughout the world as well. It's 12% of our budget, slightly more than a tithe, I guess. And then our program budgets are pretty small, about 4%, and our administration and our fees are about 2%. And so we just want you to have a good overview as to where your money goes when you give to the church. Now, right now, because we have had our budget, our income has not been as great as we were hoping it was back when we planned this budget at the end of last year. And so because of that, we have a few options. To cut back is A, option B is dip into savings, and option C is to borrow. The main point that John wanted to convey with this chart is that there's not much wiggle room for option A without impacting our programming and our staff. This is why, to cover the 2023 deficit, not the 2024, but the 2023 deficit, the Candle opted for option B, and we're currently dipping into the church's operating reserve fund of $100,000. Which brings us to the second thing I want to talk about, and that are restricted funds. Restricted funds are designated giving, is what you might call it as well, where people give and they say they want this money to go to this particular thing. They want it to go to the youth ministry, they want it to go to the music ministry, they may even get more specific than that, say I want it to go to the bells, this or that. And a lot of times when you have that money, because it's for specific things, you can't use it to cover the overall budget of the church. And so I wanted you to know about that because we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. The Finance Committee has identified some of these restricted funds that have aligned with operational expenses that we're going to use this year with getting permission from the people where they're supposed to go. And so the good news that I want to share, and John wrote this, is that our attendance is up 20% since July of this year. Compared to the same time last year, and that's a big blessing. We're up 20%. A little bit of the bad news is that we're still trending toward a deficit, and here's the second slide. So this is our planned income, was $1,246,000. Our projected income is $998,000. Now the good news is we're underspending, and we're on pace to underspending. The negative I want you to hear about underspending is that means that not all the ministries are doing all the things they want to do. As you know, we're down an associate pastor. Last year we had 2 full-time pastors and 1 part-time pastor. And right now we're down to 1 full-time pastor and 1 part-time pastor. So part of our projected underspending comes from that. And then our staff is doing everything they can to not spend all the money that was allotted in their budget, so we can hopefully save some money there as well. And then the restricted funds I told you about. We have identified $70,000 that we're hoping to pull from restricted funds. Again, with the blessings to where those funds were originally intended to go and using that. And then that leaves us with a $70,000 to $85,000 gap. Now, another little piece of good news is that the last financial report was given in April. That gap that we were talking about was much wider. And so it's been narrowed. It's still a big gap, but it's narrowed. And so our hope to try to cover that gap is what we're calling our Finish Strong campaign. If you're a part of our church, you received a financial packet in the mail this week, or last week, there should be this red envelope in there. If you didn't receive any, we have some at church, and we also have these red envelopes in the pews. These red envelopes are for people that have the capacity or are willing to give beyond what they had pledged to give in 2024. Our pledged income for 2024 was somewhere around $790,000, and we are on pace to collect just about all of that. And so one thing to think about is if we can get everybody that pledged to give that $790,000 to give 10% more, we'll be able to get to that gap of at least $70,000. We also have some people in our church that have the capacity to give but didn't know that they needed to give. And what I want to tell you is that we need you. We need your help. We don't want to decrease our ministries. We want the people on our staff and our programs and our missions to be able to do more things, not less things. And so I just ask you to prayerfully consider giving to this. And the one great piece of good news I shared on Sunday is we have a family in the church that has agreed to give $35,000 in matching money. So if we can get $35,000, that will get us to 70. And we'd like to get higher than that, maybe even to the upper end to 85. But we'll take 70 first, I guess. Amen. And so I just wanted to give you this update. Remember, finish strong. We're going to collect these envelopes through the rest of the year. And so whenever you have the capacity to give, if you have that capacity, we really would appreciate it, because your giving does make a difference, and it helps us to follow Jesus, to love all people, and impact our community. Thank you for your time, and have a blessed rest of your week. God bless.